Amandla.
Welcome.
Yes, but I don't know about Briggs and the Mambincha people being on that
We'll talk about
music
it
video.
in another show. We'll make a different show.
So this is another show for that.
This is not the show for it. We have too much nice content for this show.
All right, the show is all about human rights. Welcome to it, everybody. Banya Kumbula, way back then, a large group of South Africans marched to say no to dompas because people who were over the age of 16 by apartheid government were forced to carry dompas wherever they were going, largely African brothers and sisters. And today we are commemorating that day, hence our hashtag human rights. You can follow that on our social media platforms. It's Ekse_Live on Twitter, on Facebook it's Ekse, on Cape Town TV. Good afternoon, everybody. It's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. My name is Llama.
Cue the Black Rose over here, and of course, like Llama just said, we have so much packed for you because today we are celebrating human rights, and of course we do from a Black Ash Advocacy. Yes. We have Uhuda Abrahams Faika, who's going to be chatting with us, and we're going to be asking a few questions relating to human rights and whether people are actually aware of the human rights that they do have and they can exercise. Cue the Black Rose otherwise, and of course.
Molweni nonke emakhaya ngisiya igama njengesiqhelo i-cool kids asifika Oh, for lack of a better word, happy Human Rights Day. Ndiyathemba ke bana nihleli koma kwenu kumnandi i-reports zifikile, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today we also have Usanka and Usapha. We're talking about alcoholism and drugs. We have Uvuyiswa, no Adelaide, so do not go anywhere with our hashtag today, hashtag Human Rights Day.
Of course, that number to dial is 021-448-0448. The channel to switch on right now, tell a friend, it's channel 263 on your DSTV. And of course, we are on free to air to the larger group of Abantu Abalapha in Cape Town, to the great metropole. Human Rights Day was known back then as Sharpeville because Yonge Lendo Yakalela is Sharpeville, March and all of that. We're going to learn about the history through our threads timeline. Send those, what do you know about human rights? Are you spending the whole weekend partying with your friends, or you're commemorating those people? But otherwise, on the flip side of this, it's trending news with Sia and your girl Q.
I guess we trending news sisawungena straight kuzo. Starting off with Moody's. Moody could be taken down. A dim view on load shedding next week. Economists say, hey, load shedding no Eskom tis. But economists South Africa they have warned that Moody's Investors Services could change its outlook from stable to negative, or even downgrade South Africa to junk status. It reviews the country's credit rating next week. There's even an outside chance they could downgrade the country to junk status. Although they don't usually do that, it is possible. Chief economist at PricewaterhouseCoopers, Lulu Kruger, told Fin24. Moody is the last of the three major ratings agencies to still hold SA at investment grade of Baa3, one notch above sub-investment grade or junk status with a stable outlook. Now, we will not reach that junk status. Let's stick to the times and the schedules that we have given by Eskom so that we can avoid being in junk status. What else is next?
Otherwise, what's next is we're still focusing on Human Rights Day, and of course, South African Human Rights Commission has endorsed the Katradas Foundation's app for reporting racism, so you can report racism now. So it's only a few taps away, and this is after Zimela Racism Reporting app was aimed at allowing citizens to report discriminatory incidences, which was launched at the Constitutional Hill on Tuesday. So the pilot was introduced by the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation a year ago and was endorsed by the South African Human Rights Commission this week as part of a joint Human Rights Month commemoration. And the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation's Busisi Wenkosi explained that the app was just to use technology as a tool to win the war against racism. So, I mean, earlier on, like last year, we found out that actually racism can be charged with in court. So now there's an app to report it.
And jumping onto sad news, we are talking about the cyclone that hit Zimbabwe, Malawi, and India. Just days after the cyclone, India made an infall in South Africa. Rescue workers have been hard at work. Yeah.
kuyaphazamisa. And these natural
Unfortunately.
disasters, this is a natural disaster. I don't want to talk about it. Otherwise, we're going to go to a commercial break right about now. And when we come back, we shall touch on those human rights.
And this is Ekse Live right here on channel 263 on your DSTV, Cape Town TV to the most. Ekse Live is brought to you by the youth, for the youth. Thank you for tuning in for the source of information, education, as well as entertainment. Today we are celebrating human rights, so you can follow us on Twitter using the hashtag human rights. People on Twitter are flogging in their comments. Josephine says, human beings have human relationships. Remember to be kind. We all have off days. Be gentle, hashtag human rights. Ukalo says, never be afraid of raising your voice and making a stand for truth, honesty, compassion, and justice. Things like these are worth standing up for without compromise, no matter who tells it or who is for or against it, even if you stand alone. Hashtag human rights. Earlier on the show, sesanga uxelile uba singaba kwi-junk status as a country. Uqaqamba sixela uba ingona sizokwazi ureporta i-racism. Like, why did we wait so long? Because as humans, ngathi South Africa, i-rights zethu, anyways, Umdo Mele Human Rights is joining us right here in studio. Her name is Huda Abrahams-Faker, who is an attorney who has a local and international legal experience and has worked in London, came back to South Africa to advocate for people for your human rights. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
We're doing all right. We're just shocked that people are actually not that aware of the human rights in 2019, but that's why we're here.
Yes.
So firstly, what is Black Sash?
Look, Black Sash is an NGO. We celebrated our Jubilee anniversary a couple of years ago, so that means we're more than 60 years old.
Okay.
And it was started by a group of white women advocating for human rights so long ago during apartheid. And the journey is still on 63 years later, despite the democracy that we're celebrating now, coming to 25 years. So Black Sash vision remains the same, is to ensure that the human rights of South Africans are respected in law, implemented and enjoyed by all.
And then the human rights that you are advocating for, are they for a specific group or for just
Yes,
generally?
so now obviously looking at the needs and the challenges faced by South Africans, Black Sash has identified that now the focus should be on socio-economic rights and more particularly the right to social security and social assistance. And what we mean by that is trying to understand that when we're looking at socio-economic rights in the context of human rights, we need to know that South Africans can enjoy a dignified life. And you need to do that by looking at whether you have food, whether you have shelter, whether you have health. And so in order to do that, you need support, and that is where your right to social assistance comes in. And what is government's role to ensure that there's, that people can support themselves to acquire those basic needs.
Okay, so, yeah.
I wanted to find out, what does Human Rights Day mean for your organization, especially for the advocacy work that you do as an organization?
Well, for us, Human Rights Day is every day. So when we're looking at human rights, we look at advocacy, so to ensure that there's transparency, accountability by government, to ensure that those rights are exercised and enforced. But in order to do that, people need to know what their rights are. So education, training and research is an important program that we do, and we do that every day through our partners in communities. We engage directly with partners, and we also do civic engagement so that we can identify what are the challenges faced by South Africans. Because as an NGO, we cannot speak without hearing the voice of the people. So community-based monitoring is a program that is important to us to understand what are the challenges. So in the context of your right to social assistance and people accessing their grants, what are the challenges that they're facing now? Because what we have the administration of social grants is a new phase or a new system with SASSA and the post office. So we're now monitoring whether, that is a good system to go. Is it effective? perspective, does SAPO have the infrastructure and capacity? So those are just one of the things, and obviously to ensure that the beneficiaries themselves know what their rights are, what they're expected to receive, and how they're expected to receive their grants.
Would you say that most South Africans, which would be very sad, they don't know their rights?
I think it's hard work. That's why it's one of our programs that we do, education and training.
Yeah.
I think superficially, there are people on the ground that hear about the Constitution and hear about rights and human rights. But for the people on the ground who are poor and vulnerable, who face challenges just to live every day, those rights aren't real.
Yeah.
You know, it needs to be translated to have an impact on the realities of the poor South Africans.
So what are we doing as an organization to ensure that this message, those rights, are known by the poorest of the poor?
We engage with communities directly through our partners. So there are workshops that we do all the time. We obviously engage with media like yourselves to make sure that the message is across, is amplified and understood. But it's about understanding. So it's not just to say you have rights. It's making sure that it's in the vernacular that they understand. It's making sure that when they know you have a right to social assistance, how do you exercise those rights? Practically, where do you go? Do you apply to SASSA? You know, it's one thing to say have rights, but it's the practical implementation of it, but also for them to understand in real terms what that means. Not to refer to Section 27 of the Constitution. That doesn't mean anything to them.
Because they don't understand it.
You know, so that's the point. So we hard at work every day to make sure that people on the ground understand what their rights are.
So speaking of the Constitution, do you think that institutions currently are still holding up the Section 2 of the Bill of Rights?
Yes, I mean the chapter compromises the you know, our Bill of Rights. And so that's important. That's the base or the tool that the Black Sash uses to advocate for rights, for our vision, our mission, and for our goals. And most organizations do that because that is the tool to implement change.
And for those that don't actually know what that section says, how would you sum it up into basic terms so people can actually understand how they can exercise it?
Well, in terms of, like with your introduction to this program, as humans we have rights. And so that should be exercised. But how do you do that in a dignified manner? There needs to be a right to dignity, a right to social assistance, right to education. I'm just mentioning a few. But those are essential for you to be able to live a life as a human being. And in order to do that, those rights need to be realized. And that is why education is important, because you need to give everyone agency. They must be able to mobilize themselves to enforce, you know, the right individually as South Africans, because that's the tool. And I think even though there are challenges that we're facing now going into our 25th year of democracy, we're looking at state capture and corruption, which is the front page news every day. It mustn't deter us from advocating for enforcing our rights, because that's how we came out of apartheid. And I think we need to plod on and make sure that we achieve rights for all.
Speaking of being in the 25th anniversary of our democracy, how would you view our societies when it comes to people's and human rights in these 25 years of our democracy?
Well, I think there are challenges. There's a lot of work to be done. We've got all these rights. I've quoted chapter 2, but when you look at poor people, it's not being translated into reality.
It's all beautiful on paper.
Yes, that's exactly. I mean, that's in my notes. It's all beautiful on paper, but how do you practically implement that? And I think that is obviously the challenge. And education is one of the most important tools, because by giving individuals agency, they'll be able to start questioning and start saying, you are obligated to give me this, that, and the other. And that's why education is important.
Okay, so really quickly before we let you go, because we're going to have to go very soon, what are some, can we So people, if they want to get a hold of you guys, where can they find you? And also, besides that, what are some of the days that we can look forward to during the year where Black Sash will be out in the community and we can see them doing their thing?
Look, we do it every day,
Okay.
and we are a national organization, so we have offices all over. I think our website will be accessible to be able to get that. So it's www.blacksash.org.za. For people that need advice, we have a helpline, and that you can be contacted on 072 6633 379, and you can do a please call me, because our target people that we assist is people who are poor, so we identify that they may not have airtime. But I think it's important to note that what we've identified is that there needs to be accountability. So we engage all the time with government to enforce the Constitution, but we're also looking at, it's a multi-pronged strategy where we also look at the international forums. So we're part of a coalition where we're saying, look, you've ratified the international the International Commission on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. So we're holding you accountable in that forum as well. And in terms of a report that we did, we actually, the government, the committee has made recommendations to say that government must be answerable to that. And that's in the context of socio-economic rights.
Okay, I understand that we're pressed for time, but I wouldn't feel good letting you go without asking this very important question.
Yes.
How does one become a human rights advocate with our current situation where the system seems to be stepping on the human dignity?
I think as humans, we are all advocates for human rights. So I think that should mobilize us, that should make sure that we entrench the Constitution and the international instruments. And I think in the context of youth especially, there is a challenge currently that we're having with unemployment, especially between the ages of 18 to 59. So the question arises when you're looking at the right to social assistance and the right for people to be able to have a lifeline to earn, to be able to pay for their basic needs. If there are no jobs, I mean, we're looking at 40% unemployment. What do we do? And now we're actually exploring, should there be a basic income for the ages of 18 to 59 years, as well as a universal income? That's been on the cards internationally. So we need to identify how do we achieve our rights and what do we have to do that. And I think although your dignity may be trampled on, it should not deter us, it should accelerate our efforts to be able to enforce our
Get
rights.
up and dust yourself.
Yes.
Get up and you do it. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having Black Sash.
So let's not trample on Vusinova's rights to sing right now, because I'm sure that is waiting. Thank you so much for coming through, and great work, Black Sash.
Thank you.
Right now, Vusinova asiphelelanga.
Asiphelelanga, babe.
Vusinova esithi asiphelelanga, kushoda uvuyo, kushoda uAmy, kushoda who else usinalo, kushoda Riza. Asiphelelanga nani emakhaya ningekho ku Ekse, asiphelelanga. Ensure that you watch us every day, Monday through Friday between 4 and 5. Should you wish to be part of the show, you can email us at ekse@capetowntv.org or call us on 021-448-0448. Our hashtag for the day is hashtag Human Rights Day. Let's carry on with your tweets. Natalie says, it's a mini Friday, hashtag Human Rights. I think you're one of those people that I was asking, are you here to dance on the long weekend, or you know what Human Rights Day is all about? And then there's Debu who says, apparently people from the VAL have decided to close routes to prevent President Cyril Ramaphosa from making his hashtag Human Rights Day address in Sharpeville. Oh my word, wow. Joining us in studio, I'm lost for words. Usanka is a non-governmental organization whose major objectives are the prevention and treatment of alcohol and other drug dependency. The first of these objectives is mainly achieved through public education, and the second through provision of treatment services for chemically dependent people and their families. And sithetha njenge human rights, I think ishoya namhlanje Llama for Usanka to come and talk about the work that they do. Joining them in the yellow couch, Uchu Sanga is going to introduce this beautiful lady for us.
Oh, yes, that's right. And we do have Umama Vuyisa Muvu from Sanka. Welcome, Mama. All right?
Right, Siyaphila. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, usanka yintoni kuqala for abantu abangayaziyo?
Usanka i-outpatient treatment center. Apho sisebenza nabantu abasebenzisa iziyobisi notywala. Zininzi iprogram esithi sizenze phaa kwaSanka, senza ne-prevention zikhona nezinye siyatrayina nokutrayina.
And then programs in this official are going to train our bantu. What are they?
Okay, into esiyenzayo kakhulu siyenza i-intervention. Apho sifumanisa khona umuntu like osebenzisa utywala othi eze apha kuthi ezofuna uncedo. Sinazo nezinye iprogram ezizezinye xa sizileyo sinayo igroup, sinayo i-individual, sinayo ne-community. Xa sincedayo asincedi only uperson lo unengxaki. Sinceda kwakhona na-family because kufumanise ukuthi oyena mntu ubandakanyeka kakhulu kwayifamily more than unantsika umuntu lo unengxaki yotywala bayena akaboni ingxaki kuye, more especially siyazi ukuthi utywala illegal. So njengoba illegal ke ngoku umuntu uthatha for granted ukuthi ke ngoku uyasocialize kanti kasaziboni ukuthi useke abuse. So sinazo ke nezinye i-programs for abantwana abancinci esibiza ngokuthi i-puppet, apho sisebenza i-puppetry through storytelling. Sibe nazo i-holiday programs, sinazo ezinye i-programs sizenza esikolweni like siyotraina i-peer educators ukuthi mazikwazi ukujongana nabanye abantwana ezinye i-peers zabo ukuthi umuntu axakene ingxaki angeza kwaSanka. Siyakwazi nokuphuma siye kwi-industries siyokwenza information sessions, sitraine nenatsika because into eyenzekayo abantu bayajonge only i-workers ezisebenzisayo kodwa bona management bazibekile bucala. So ke ngosifuna ukuthi ngoko nazo i-management funeka zizazi ukuthi nazo ziyabandakanyeka endlela yokusebenziseni utywala.
Mama buke wathetha ngento yokubana abantu bayazizela. Ndifuna nje ukubuza ngalo mbuzo how important it is bana umuntu azizele nokubana ifamily intervene. Which one is more important if ever ikhona ebalulekileyo phezu kwenye? Because mnandla ngoqhela abantu xa kuthiwa bana umuntu makazizele ngokwakhe xa sele yena you know they've reached the decision bana okay this is enough. So you know which one is more important? Is it the family intervention okanye xa umuntu ezizele, you know, because the family would want to intervene but umuntu akafuni uyeka iziyobisi.
What is important is sijonge i-readiness yomuntu uqala because ungaza wena ifamily uthi uyeza uzofuna uncedo but that won't help because it's not you.
Yes.
Oyena mntu unengxaki ngulo usebenzisayo. So it's more important xa ke siza ngokwakhe because noba niyamforsa nina as ifamily lithi makeze into ezakwenzeka uzawukwamahambe angayigqibi iprogram. So ke into ethetha ukuthi ngoku nina niluzile kodwa at the same time anithi xa nizile niyifamily siniyeke nani because nani niyi-part of illness leyo yomuntu osebenzisayo. So nani siyanitrita asinishiyi nje esithubeni uba nimzisile kodwa ibalulekile into yokuthi umuntu yena xa kezibona ukuthi ngoku kwanele eze ngokwakhe okanye xa kebona izinto because zininzi iimpawu zokuthi because umuntu bekade eqala esebenzisa utywala ngoku akasabusebenzisi ngokuyabu-abuser omnye akasabu-abuse ngosekexhomekekile yabo zininzi ezi zigaba umuntu athi go through kuzo.
I-abuse yintoni kanye i-abuse kumntu ongayaziyo? Ithetha ukuthini i-abuse? Does it mean umuntu usela iiglasses eziyi-3 ngemini utywala de mhlawumbi azibone naye bengakho right anxile, you know, for lack of a better word, which is quite rude, I'm sorry to use that word. With alcohol, with drugs, does it mean umuntu funeka az-injecte kaninzi? You know, what exactly constitutes yintoni abuse?
Okay, i-abuse xa noyinantsi kakhulu bendifuna uqala kule ukuthi uqala ndawoni isiphase yokuqala uqala phaa kula experimental usocialize usithela ngelo xesha ngalo event.
Experimental is basically you starting off utywala, you know, mhlawumbi 1 drink and then the next phase is the social one, so which means you drinking more and more sociably, and then the last phase?
The thing is like phase 1 it's not necessary ukuthi ukwazi la volume uyiselileyo ikusela yenza ntoni apha kuwe then ke maybe okanye ubu experiment it, then it was once off kodwa ngoyufanisa ukuthi ngoku uyifuna more then uye unyuka ngezi phases ke uye ube critical phase ube ku crucial uzoba lapha ke ngoku kulo abuse ubuthetha ngayo because it's no use sibe no abuse xa ulapha ke ngoku abuse into ethetha ukuthi ngoku wena ngoku awusakwazi ukuzicontrol awusenazi limits into ethetha ukuthi ke ngoku wena zininzi i-life areas eziye zithi zi-affected because like ufanele ukuthi i-relationship yakho ngayisambi kalunyalwa endlini ufanele ukuthi ba ungumntana esikolo awusenamdla wakwenza umsebenzi wasikolo wonqana isikolo uyabhanka eklasini awusenamdla ukwenza nto omnye umuntu ebengumuntu wesport akasenamdla ubheka esport yokujima zonke ezo zinto ziba affected umuntu ebehamba icawe akasanamdla wokwenza ukuya ecaweni ngoku ezi zinto ngoku ziphinde ke ngoziphinde liphendukele omnye umuntu wenza izinto ezathi zimhlazise yena kunye nefamily yakhe like omnye uba uyasela uyazimanzisa omnye uyatipa omnye uba ne-blackout so zininzi izinto ezithi surrounded ku-abuse so if ndakulapha kwi-drugs ngokunjalo it's not ukuthi uba umuntu wakade uyazi-injecta ngoku ufumanisa ukuthi unexesha elingakanani esebenzisa ezi drugs kwaye yintoni imiphumela yokuthi xa kuthe wasebenzisa i-drugs ufumanisa ukuthi omnye umuntu uba aggressive omnye abanye abantu bane-swing moods abo zininzi izinto ezithi zizenzeke apha kuwe xana ungumntu
ngokuqhawula before sibe nexesha eliphilileyo abantu bangani fumana njani xa befuna uthetha ngento ye-abuse or want to report abuse
siyaphuma sibheke ezikolweni siyaya ezicaweni siyaya ezi-clinics abantu bayaya apho sikhoyo sine-branches eziyi-5
okay and then information yabo bangazifumana phi mhlawumbi like i-Facebook page okanye
sinayo iwebsite esinayo ethi www.wc.co.za
sizayifaka pha kwi-pages ka-Ekse otherwise for now sisayophefumla because we need a break and when we come back more alcohol chats.
For the community, an organization, or you are a young entrepreneur and you want to bring shine to your business, you can email uyonela@capetowntv.org, or you're an artist that want to paint, you're a comedian and stuff like that, babalwa@capetowntv.org. You are full of science and stuff like that. It's lungelwa@capetowntv.org. Should you wish to be part of our studio audience, you can email seville@capetowntv.org. You're an artist, you want to hold the microphone and spit the rhymes and lyrics, you can email llama@capetowntv.org. Wishing to be part of our studio audience, of course, it's ekse@capetowntv.org. 021-448-0448 is that number to dial. Follow us on Twitter, it's ekse_live. On Facebook, it's Ekse on Cape Town TV. We are commemorating Human Rights Day today. On Twitter, we've got Musa who says, this Human Rights Day, join us in creating an environment that enhances access to safe abortion services for women and girls in South Africa by supporting rights-based reproductive health policies, #My Body, My Choice. And then Ucheledi says, Human Rights Day, what are you up to? I know the smart ones took Friday off. It's a long weekend for them. Where are you commemorating? Sharpeville massacre, where 69 people lost their lives over parcels. If I remember history correctly, where 21st March people were shot down because they were marching. One last tweet before we head over to our interview. This one comes from Bongani, who says, before 1994, the 21st of March was known as Sharpeville Day to serve as a reminder of what happened in Sharpeville massacre. We now celebrate it as Human Rights Day. How much do you know about what happened on that tragic day of the 21st of March, 1960? Let us know via our social media platforms. if you know your history, and if you do not, ask us questions. We'll answer them for you. Well, SAPA is Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance. On the 8th of November 2012, SAPA was established at the inaugural South African Alcohol Policy Forum in Johannesburg, South Africa. Attending the forum were delegates selected from the civil society organizations from following regional countries: Namibia, Malawi, Madagascar, Zambia, Botswana, Lesotho, and South Africa, as well as organizations from Kenya, Sierra Leone, Sweden, and Norway. The purpose of the forum was to build competence on the alcohol situation on both a local and global level, exchange policy and prevention work experience, and discuss a closer regional collaboration. So we're discussing this closer to home, to you on your television right here on Ekse with, of course, Adila Meka Dudrets. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
How are you this Human Rights Day?
I'm good, thank you, and I'm glad that we're talking about people remembering history.
How do you celebrate Human Rights Day?
Well, as an activist, I guess I see myself as an activist.
We all are.
Amandla.
We know that we're all activists, yes.
I think it's about always understanding that we all have individual responsibility to make sure that the human beings that we cohabitate on the planet and in our community is safe. So as somebody that's involved in alcohol advocacy, I see that as a particular issue. You mentioned that people taking off Friday so that it's a long weekend. So we all know that the long weekend is starting tonight.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Puza Thursday. It's going to be Puza Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday is Babalas, and then we're going to have to deal with that.
And then nursing with the babalas at work.
So the issue is how do we make sure that our fellow South Africans are safer due to alcohol? Every day, we have 182 people that die of alcohol related.
Every day?
Every day. Every day.
And how many?
82.
182.
Sorry, 172.
172.
That's still a lot.
172 people die every day in South Africa due to alcohol related.
In South Africa alone.
South Africa alone, yeah? Last year in September, the Deutsche Bank found out that Cape Town and Johannesburg is among the 5 top cities in the world for the cheapest beer. In South Africa, beer costs cheaper than brown bread. Let's leave white bread alone.
Whoa.
Absolutely.
Wait,
Absolutely.
basic needs.
Now, this is the issue. It's a human right. Our government spends every year 247 billion rand on alcohol-related harm. What we get in from the alcohol industry is 97 billion. So you, me, and everybody else out there is technically subsidizing the profit of the alcohol industry. So
Now,
you want to talk about human rights and how the South African government need to begin to protect our human rights against a drug, a legal drug.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about
I actually want to ask, talking about the industry, because I mean, the alcohol industry does bring in a lot of GDP, of money in South Africa. So now, how do we balance that, the balancing act? Because, I'm sure still Ramaphosa will not be happy if ever we cut out.
If he has that.
Well, this is the issue, right? The government commissioned a study because they didn't believe us. They commissioned a study to check how much money are we spending on alcohol-related harm. They came to the figure of 247 billion. They know that the revenue we generate from the alcohol industry is only 97 billion. So there's no dispute about the facts. So the National Department of Trade and Industry tried to introduce the National Liquor Amendment Bill of 2016-17, right? And in that, they make provisions for changing how we regulate alcohol in the country. So one is increased to age of 21. The second is, or a few of them, is the issue of extending liability to the people that sell alcohol, and distribute. And then there's the issue about zoning around educational and religious institutions. taking it further away. So we know in the township, right, how many shebeens,
Ooh.
Taverns.
okay? Let's but it's
No,
a
but
reality.
yes,
Yeah.
We don't make a distinction between a tavern and a shebeen. A tavern is technically a licensed outlet. A shebeen is an illegal outlet. But we have many, many, many thousands of them in our townships where people live. And that is where the harm is happening. The harm is not happening, and I am very clear about this, it's not happening in Constantia. It's not happening in Bishop's Court because there's nothing there. People there
Maybe
won't.
it is happening, it's just that maybe it's not as visible.
Well, the thing is it's not as visible because there's no outlets there. People have alcohol in their homes, or they go into the city, or they go into the pub and the restaurant, they have the alcohol, and then they go home.
Okay.
But in the township, it is sold next to where children live.
Yeah.
No, true.
It's sold next to, it's where children go to school.
Yeah.
So it's opposite the school. And then there's 5 of them in a row. And so it interrupts and disrupts the education of children. We don't want to talk about teachers leaving the school premises to go drink.
During
or
lunchtime.
During lunchtime. Or learners.
Does that really happen?
Yes.
Yes, everywhere.
Yes. I'm talking facts.
Yes.
And the challenge is that our government tried to introduce legislative change to regulate this. But there has been persistent and consistent resistance to this. So the alcohol industry, when they challenged the fact that this legislation should be introduced, and they asked for a socio-economic impact study in 2017. One was undertaken, and the study itself said that it's important that we introduce more restrictive legislation, because what it will do, it will reduce the money that the government spend on dealing with alcohol harm.
Okay.
It would reduce the number of people that drink harmfully. So binge drinking. You know what binge drinking
For
is?
some of those that don't know, please explain.
Okay. So you know that the drinking culture in South Africa is that you drink to get drunk.
Okay.
You don't drink to socialize. Okay? So what happens is when people have more than 5 drinks, when men have more than 5 drinks in any one sitting. So we come together. If you have more than 5 drinks, you binge drinking. Okay. If you're a woman, more than 4 drinks, you binge drinking. Okay.
Really?
So
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
I actually didn't
So
know
what
these
do we
facts.
do? I think an important fact is also that less than 50% of people in South Africa drink. Less than 50%.
So that means that other 40-something% is actually leading towards alcoholism.
Okay, there's a difference between heavy drinking and being an alcoholic.
Okay.
Heavy drinking is when you are drinking heavily, but you're not dependent on it.
Yes.
Okay? So people that is alcoholic, they've got a serious illness
And they
that
can't go without it.
so they can't go without it, and they get really sick. But when you binge drink, so starting tonight, people will come together and everybody will put a 6-pack on the table as the starter, not as what we have
For the night.
for the night, right? Now, I'm not talking things that people don't know.
But quite hits home.
I don't know, but like if you put a 6-pack, like she says, people will be looking at you like, what are you doing?
Ipeng 6-pack.
Yeah.
Where's the other one?
Exactly. Where's the 12-pack?
Yeah.
Where's the 24-pack?
Where's the
Where's the cooler
yellow
bags?
bags?
Where's the
Cooler
cooler
bags.
bags?
No,
Right?
definitely.
So that's part of our problem in South Africa, is that we've got a culture where we don't know how to drink in a manner that is still
Like responsible.
we don't talk about responsible, because responsible says that it's only your problem.
Oh, okay.
But we talk about drinking safely. Yeah?
Okay.
We're not talking about not drinking, because we live in a democracy, we live in a multicultural society where people have different ways of hanging out. So the issue is, how do we get South Africans to think more about how they drink? In 2016, the World Health Organization found out or documented that 15 to 19-year-olds, yeah,
High school.
high school students,
Yes.
boys, 74% of them binge drink.
I'm not okay.
Critical age for puberty.
Of females, 15 to 19-year-olds, 34% binge drink. In 2011, we found out that 13% of under 12s have started
Under
drinking
12?
in the past month. So I'm glad I'm shocking.
No,
I'm
this
not
is
meaning to
actual-
shock you,
We
but
understand, but this is actual facts that we don't actually sit down and talk about, because in such a culture where drinking is such a, it's
normal.
It's normal. It's a culture. It's like we're
normalize
going
it.
out, we're going to drink. You know, it's normal. So people don't actually sit down and think about the facts and how harmful it could be or what it could lead to.
And I think that's the thing that we don't talk about. We lose a lot of people on our roads every year. We've got the Easter season coming up. Then we've got the 16th June
Yes.
holiday season coming up. Then we have all our other public holiday periods.
Women's Day.
Women's Day,
Heritage Day.
Heritage Day.
It doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. So we use every opportunity to have alcohol, the ones that do drink. But we don't talk about the fact that although gender-based violence will happen in the absence of alcohol, when there's alcohol, it increases 4 times. And the level of violence increases as well.
Actually, before we go any further, what is SAPA and where can people reach SAPA?
Okay. SAPA is the Southern African Alcohol Policy Alliance. So our mission is to have communities be involved and influence alcohol policy at local, provincial and national level.
Okay.
Because what happens is communities' voice is absent. So all those go-go's that have to take care of the children when the parents
go
are
drinking, yes.
drinking, or who's taking care of them. When communities are not involved in deciding how many outlets is in
That's very
where
true.
they live.
That's true.
They're not consulted on renewal of licenses.
That's true.
They're not consulted around the fact that they don't want it where they live. And so we wanting to bring communities, organizations, academia together so that we can influence the alcohol policies in the country.
You know, to a point, you're actually reminding me of, you know, the taverns, shebeens that are opened overnight. There was one that was open next door to our house. The noise they made, we could not deal. And you know, the consent, going back to the consent on some, okay, community, is this okay? You know, understand its livelihood and so forth and on. But is it okay? And the consent of the community.
So
I think we have to wrap up.
We have to wrap up, unfortunately. But thank you so much for informing us. And of course, if you guys do want more information on that, go check out our Ekse pages on Facebook, Ekse on Cape Town TV, and you'll find all the information you need.
And you can contact us at SAPA, SAAPA .za@gmail.com.
Great.
gmail.com. Is very good, guys.
Yeah, I'm the most cool. For sharing good. Tomorrow is Friday. And it's Ekse between 4 and 5. I'm not saying let's drink, I'm saying tomorrow is Ekse between 4 and 5. Make sure that you come through and watch. And if you missed this particular episode, you can catch us on YouTube. It's Ekse on Cape Town TV. It's time for us to say goodbye. And thank you very much for the job that you do as Sapa from Sia, Q, and Llama Moon.
Happy Human Rights Day.
And goodbye.
Enjoy.